After 90 days in office, the Polish Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Stefan Krajewski, organised a special press conference to share the results of his actions. The announcements were grandiose: new laws, deregulation, promises. What is the reality? Farmers' protest, the European Union's agreement with Mercosur countries on the horizon, and crops that farmers are unable to sell, so they give them away for free or simply destroy them. What does Poland's Minister of Agriculture have to say about all this? Dear friends, I invite you to harvest the peppers yourselves. They will remain in the field for another week because we will not be harvesting them. The costs of harvesting exceed the sales. If anyone would like to, I will even help them. I don't want a penny for it. This is just one of many examples. Farmers are giving away their crops en masse. Unfortunately, there are also more dramatic examples. Everything will end up like this. It will end up being ploughed into the ground because it is below the break-even point. Farmers, including those from Podkarpacia, are destroying their crops en masse. Harvesting crops is not profitable. Sometimes there are not even any takers willing to harvest them for free. Those who produce food have no way to sell it. Peppers cost 60 grosz at the wholesale market and 9 zloty in the store. And these are real problems Poles face. This is unthinkable. In my entire life, I have never seen a situation where potatoes, cauliflower, tomatoes and peppers were discarded. This is unacceptable. These are very high costs incurred by farmers. Where is this going? It's going in the direction that there will soon be no farmers left. However, the Minister of Agriculture, Stefan Krajewski, believes he has found the golden mean. Up to now, there were loans because no other assistance was available. But this will not cure the scandalously low purchase prices. A Hokkaido pumpkin cost 6.99 zloty. Previously it was 9.99 zloty. This week I prepared pumpkins for Lidl and sold them for 1.10 zloty. Meanwhile, at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, a press conference was held to mark Stefan Krajewski's 90 days in office. When asked by TV Republica what specific measures will be taken to improve the situation and prevent the destruction of crops, Minister Krajewski began to talk about what cannot be done. Self-harvesting is not a systemic solution. It was a temporary solution. It is not possible to subsidize product. We are in the single European market, and such aid is considered illegal. When it comes to intervention purchases, there are specific goods for which we can make purchases. On behalf of farmers, however, we decided to pursue this issue. You mentioned self-harvesting, which is a matter of people organizing themselves. Those who received information that such things were happening and organized themselves to harvest and purchase these crops. The issue is that it is not possible to cover all goods with intervention purchases and that it is not possible to organize subsidies. What can be done? What will you do? Yes, as I said, contracting, the introduction of contracting. When submitting an application to the Polish Agency for Reconstruction and Modernization of Agriculture for subsidies, farmers should already know who will buy their product and at what price. Producer groups, cooperatives. It is very important that we have a different bargaining power. I encourage you to shorten supply chains and buy directly from the producer. Farmers feel unsatisfied. From farm to table was the assumption of the Common Agricultural Policy. Unfortunately, this has been talked about for years, but in reality, farmers are more restricted by regulations and policies imposed by the European Union. And more problems are on the horizon. The European Commission has already given the green light for the agreement with the Mercosur countries to come into force, and the Prime Minister is approaching the matter in this way. Why are we afraid that Argentine beef will arrive, travel those thousands of kilometers, end up in stores, and be more attractive to Poles? This will lead to the destabilization and destruction of Polish and European agriculture, and ultimately to the destabilization of the agri-food sector and food security. Germany is not paying attention to this fact. The agreement is supposed to open up a market for their own products, and that's not all the European Union has in store for farmers. The politicians ruling Poland have betrayed the interests of Polish farmers and are opening up our market, or rather the European Union is doing so, and they are opening up our market to a flood of agricultural products from Ukraine. The EU policy, which further exacerbates the problems of European agriculture, including ours, increases the supply of food from South America, Ukraine, and probably soon from Russia, is a shameful policy, a policy that destroys European agriculture and lines the pockets of international corporations. All this may make such situations a sad everyday reality for farmers. Farmers cannot sell their tomatoes. It's a big problem. They're asking everyone, anyone who is willing, to come to the fields so that the tomatoes do not go to waste. I believe that if we do not stop the influx of agricultural products from outside Poland, Polish and European agriculture will not survive. Calls for help are growing louder. Farmers have announced a nationwide strike for the 14th of November. The government seems to be turning a deaf ear to everything.